Welcome to Acera's new employee and mid-career seminar. So, um, it's a new employee seminar because if you're a new employee, there's going to be a lot of good information here for you. If you're in your mid-career, there's tons of good information for you, and either way, you're in a good position because you have a lot of time ahead of you to plan for retirement. Um, so, I'm going to tell you all the things you might want to know about doing that retirement planning. And since you're curious enough about retirement planning to watch this seminar, you probably have some questions. Questions like, what do I need to know about my pension? Do I need to do anything? And if so, what do I need to do? So I'm going to answer those questions for you. And I have organized this seminar in the form of a checklist. So I'm going to help you understand just a few retirement basics. I'm going to talk a little bit about pension math, the way that we calculate the retirement that you're earning, and how we calculate what you're going to receive once you retire from Acera. We'll talk about the retirement formula and also purchasing service credit. I'm going to show you how to get a pension estimate. I'm going to help you understand your retirement eligibility, so when you actually become eligible to actually retire, because it's not immediate. I'm going to talk about some additional benefits that Acera offers. I'm going to talk to you about designating your beneficiary or beneficiaries. I'm going to help you understand your career planning options, if you should ever or when you actually leave Acera or leave your job. And I'm going to help you make a retirement planning picture. I'm going to talk about starting a 457B account and signing up for Acera News. So it looks like there's a lot of stuff, but I'll just break it all down for you and we'll just do one thing at a time. So the first thing that we'll talk about, understanding retirement basics. So first of all, start at the beginning. Who is Acera? Well, in one sense, Acera is the Alameda County Employees Retirement Association. So it's this acronym, but it's made up of a lot of people. So what we do at Acera, the about 90 of us that work at Acera, is we provide retirement, disability, and death benefits to our members. So that's all of you. So you are also part of Acera. And you're part of Acera because of the position that you work in and who you work for. So you work, or at some point you worked full-time in a retirement eligible position for one of these 6 participating employers. So these are public agencies that use Acera as their pension system for their employees. So as an Acera member, as an employee of one of those agencies, you pay into Acera's fund. So every paycheck, you'll see a line in the deductions column that says something like retirement, and there's some money that comes out of each and every paycheck. It goes into Acera's fund. That's your employee contribution to Acera's fund. Also, when that happens, your employer makes a contribution to Acera's fund on your behalf. So we take that money and we invest it in a lot of different investments all over the world to earn interest. And so it's these 3 things combined, the fact that you're paying into the fund, the fact that your employer is paying into the fund, and the earnings that we earn on investing that money, give us this big pot of money that we call Acera's fund, the Acera fund. So then what do we do with that money? And that is just an example of the deduction line on your pay stub. So you can verify your membership and that the deduction is happening correctly. So what do we do with that money in Acera's fund? So you are earning credit toward retirement as you work. You earn credit toward retirement. And then at some point in the future, you go to retire. And once you retire, you're going to collect an allowance, also known as a retirement benefit, every month for the rest of your life. So you cannot outlive your retirement. You're going to get that check each and every month for the rest of your life. So that's what we do with the money. We pay you back the retirement that you've been earning throughout your entire career. Pensions are very special. Those employee contributions that you make throughout your entire career, those are paid back to you, all of them plus interest, within the first 3 to 5 years of retirement. So if you are retired, if you live past the first 3 to 5 years, hopefully you do. Um, Everything after that is just like a windfall for you, basically, in a sense. But the reason the reason that it's part of your earnings and part of what you earned is because we've been investing your money throughout your entire career, and it's actually the interest that pays for 75% of that lifetime retirement. So you're earning retirement, you're paying into the system, you're deferring your pay so that you can get it, so we can invest it for you professionally, and that you can get it later as that lifetime monthly retirement allowance. There's not there aren't really any other investments that work this way, so it's pretty special. Okay, so just a few more basics. Let me show you this pension milestone chart. These are the milestones, most of the milestones that you will see regarding your career at your ACERA participating employer and regarding your membership with ACERA. So we have your first milestone is your date of hire. That's the first day that they told you to show up to work in your full-time retirement eligible position. Now, if you started out part-time or you were working in a contract or seasonally or something like that, you didn't become an ACERA member. You weren't eligible for membership until you were promoted to that full-time retirement eligible position. So the first day of that position, that's what could be considered your date of hire for this milestone chart. So then what happens is 2 weeks goes by, the first day of your second pay period, that is your date of entry into ACERA, and that is when you start earning the ACERA benefits. Then 5 years goes by. After 5 years, you are considered vested in the retirement system. Vesting, to be vested, that just means guaranteed. So once you're vested, you are guaranteed the vested benefits. You're guaranteed the guaranteed benefits. They're guaranteed by state law. That's just what vesting means. Okay, then sometime after that 5 year mark, you become eligible to retire. And it's based on your years that you've worked, your years of service credit, and your age. And there's some combination that gives you retirement eligibility. We'll talk about that later in the presentation. But that's your first time when you're actually eligible to retire and start collecting benefits. But you don't have to retire immediately. You can keep working after that, and you can keep earning more and more retirement. So you choose your retirement date, which is the next milestone at some point in the future after your retirement eligibility. And that is the day that you start collecting those benefits that you've been earning throughout your career. Now, there's 2 more milestones after you retire. First one is your death. I apologize that it has to be the case, that has to happen. But the reason it's on here, and cannot be avoided, but the reason it's on here on the pension milestone chart is because this is when your retirement payments stop. So we're paying you your monthly lifetime allowance for the rest of your life after retirement. But then you can name a beneficiary or beneficiaries for continuing payments after your death. And so when they die, that is when those payments would stop. So that's just another milestone regarding the benefits that you've earned under ACERA. Okay. Just really quickly about vesting, I said it happens with 5 years of service credit, and that includes reciprocity. And reciprocity is just if you've linked various retirement systems together in California, you can get some advantages from that, which we'll talk about in the second half of the presentation. But that if you have 5 years combined among all of the systems you've linked together, then you're considered vested. And the vesting is guaranteed by state law. And the vested benefits, the guaranteed benefits, are the monthly retirement allowance, a annual cost of living increase to that allowance in retirement, and then there's this $1,000 lump sum death benefit that's considered vested. There are also other death benefits, like I was mentioning a minute ago, that come with the different retirement options that you will be asked to choose from at the time of retirement, including that continuing payment. That's also kind of considered among the vested benefits. Okay. Another pension basic is your tier. You are in one of these tiers. and it's based on kind of the position that you work in and based on your date of entry into Acera. So first of all, if you're a safety member, safety members are sheriff's deputies, probation officers, and other sworn officers. If you're a safety member, you're going to look at this timeline right here. And then if you work for Livermore Area Recreation and Parks District, you look at this timeline. If you work for Alameda County Housing Authority, you look here. And everyone else who's not a safety member is a general member. And then you would be looking at this timeline here. And in fact, the people that work for the Housing Authority and LARPD, you're also considered general members. It's just that you have a separate timeline here for your general membership. And the way this works is if you entered Acera before each one of the dates, then that puts you in that tier. So if you entered Acera before July 1st, 1983, you're in tier 1 as a general member. If you entered Acera between July 1st, 1983, all the way up to December 31st, 2012, that puts you in tier 2. If you entered Acera January 1st, 2013 and beyond, that puts you in tier 4. And that's the case with in every single situation. And then for the Housing Authority, Livermore Area Recreation and Parks District, and safety members, there are other time cutoffs for the various tiers. One thing I want to point out for the safety members is that if you entered Acera between October 17th, 2010 and December 31st, 2012, you had a choice of either to go into tier 2C or tier 2D, and you made that selection within 45 days of starting your safety job, your safety position. And if you didn't make a choice, then you were defaulted into the lower tier that pays not as much as the other one. Okay, that's how that works. So I'm going to show you this slide right now, and then I'm going to circle back to this slide and this whole idea at the end of the presentation. Because this is a new employee / mid-career seminar, we're talking about retirement planning. We're talking about like way in the future. And what financial planners will tell you is that in retirement, you will need 70 to 80% of what you were making while you were working. You're going to need 70 to 80% of that in retirement to maintain your standard of living. So basically 70 to 80% of your salary that you were making right before you retired, that will allow you to maintain your standard of living. And your income in retirement is going to come from a few different sources. And one of those is your Acera monthly pension. Another will be Social Security, if you're paying into the Social Security system. And everything else is going to be your savings and investments. So we'll talk about this later on in the presentation. We'll revisit this idea, but I just wanted to kind of show you now, just kind of give you the context of the discussion. We'll talk about your Acera monthly pension for a while, and then we'll come back to these other aspects of retirement planning later. Okay. So regarding your pension, let me help you understand a little bit about pension math, and that will help you understand the level of benefits that you're earning throughout your career. When you go to retire, you are going to get a percentage of your highest salary for each year of service. And years of service, it's basically like if you work 20 years full time, you earn 20 years of service credit. And in that case, you would get a certain percentage of your highest salary for each one of those 20 years. So this is the pension formula. This is what we multiply at the time of retirement to figure out what your monthly retirement allowance is going to be. So let me give you some numbers, and it will help kind of illustrate this point. Let's say that the percentage that you're going to get of your highest salary for each year of service is 2%. So you're going to get 2% of your highest salary for each year of service. And let's say that you work for 20 years. You earn 20 years of service credit. You're going to get 2% of your highest salary for each one of those 20 years. That means that you're going to get 40% of your highest salary. Now let's say that your highest salary while you were working was $5,000. 40% of $5,000 is $2,000. So that would become your monthly retirement allowance that you would receive every month for the rest of your life. plus cost of living increases. So that's how that works. Now, you'll notice that because it's a multiplication, the higher any of these three numbers are, the higher the age factor percentage, the higher the service credit, the higher the salary equals a higher monthly retirement allowance. So that means that the higher the age factor percentage, the longer you work, the higher the salary that you earn, you're earning a higher retirement allowance. So what percentage of your higher salary will you get for each year of service? Regarding the age factor percentage. So we're just talking about this part of the formula right now. We'll just focus on that for just a minute. So what is that percentage going to be for you? Well, it's going to be based on your age at retirement. So when you go to retire, we're going to look at this chart that has all these age factor percentages in it, and we're going to pull out one of these numbers and put it in the formula for you. So let's say that you are a Tier 4 member and you're a general member and you retire at age 65. We're going to come down here to this column. We're going to go 2.30%. We're going to put this in the formula for you. You're going to get 2.30% of your highest salary for each year of service. And so if you're trying to find yourself in the chart, you can forget about all the other columns except for the column for your tier. You just look at that one column. You may notice that not all of the ages are represented here, and that is because they don't all fit on the slide, because they actually increase every quarter year that you wait to retire based on your birthday. So if your birthday is January 15th, for example, 1 quarter after your birthday is April 15th, 2 quarters is July 15th, 3 quarters is October 15th, and then back to your birthday. Every time you pass one of those quarter year dates and don't retire, you go up one notch in this chart and you get a slightly higher age factor percentage until you reach the maximum age factor percentage for your tier, which is represented by the blue box. So that is the maximum age factor percentage that you can get in your tier. And it maxes out at a certain age. So like for general tier 2 members, it maxes out at 2.43% at age 65. If you retire at age 65 or 66 or 67 or 68, you still get the 2.43%. So the number stops increasing once you reach the maximum. Okay, if you ever want to see what all of the percentages are, we have a PDF out on our website, so you can check that out. Okay, but the bottom line, if you forget everything I told you about that, but if you just remember one thing, it just means that basically the older your retirement age, the higher the age factor percentage is going to be for you. So that's one way that you're earning more and more credit toward retirement, is just by getting older. Again, up to the maximum for your tier. Okay, let's talk about, since we talked about the age factor percentage in a little more detail, let's talk about these other two in more detail. We'll talk about service credit first. So you start earning service credit on the first day of your second pay period, so that's your date of entry into ACERA, and then you're going to earn that all the way up until your retirement date. Or if you stop working earlier than that, you will earn it all the way up until you stop working. Some people don't retire immediately. You stop working, you don't retire immediately. So then you'll stop earning it when you stop working your job. Okay, when do you earn service credit? You earn service credit during your regular work hours. While you're working, you're earning service credit. Also, while you're out on your earned vacation, earned sick leave, management leave, comp time, holidays, floating holidays, you're earning service credit during all those times. Those don't count against you. You're just earning service credit during those times. Now, the times when you don't earn service credit is if you're ever out on leave without pay, you don't earn service credit. If you purchase additional vacation on top of your earned vacation, you don't earn service credit while you're out on the purchased vacation. Purchasing vacation is like you earn 3 weeks of vacation per year, and you want to take a 4-week vacation, so that year you purchase an additional week of vacation from your employer. You take a 4-week vacation. For that 1 week where you're marking purchase vacation on your timesheet, that you would not earn service credit for that, but you would earn service credit for the 3 weeks that you are taking your earned vacation. If you sell vacation, your earned vacation back to your employer, you're getting a check for it, but you're not getting service credit for it. Um, if you're out on if you work overtime, on call time, standby time, none of those count towards service credit. You don't get extra service credit for those. Okay, so let's talk about purchasing a service credit. This is a really good topic to know about um, if you're a new employee or you're in the middle of your career, because this can help you have a higher service credit number that we'll use in the formula for you, which will mean a higher retirement allowance. So the idea here is that there are some types of time that you maybe could have earned service credit for, but didn't because of the nature of that time, um, that you can then purchase later to kind of make yourself whole in a sense, to get all your service credit. And so those categories are listed out here. So this one is called ineligible non-covered time. So that means time that you didn't earn service credit for because you were not a full-time retirement eligible employee yet. So if you started out part-time and it was just plain old part-time, you weren't working for a temp agency, employment agency, you weren't under contract, just plain old part-time. You didn't earn service credit for that if you started out part-time. But then once you get your retirement eligible position, then you can purchase that time. The same thing for the county's temporary assignment pool, seasonal work, intermittent work, services needed, project work, per diem work, all known as ineligible time because it was ineligible for you to earn service credit when you were doing it, but now that you are an SARA member, you can purchase it. This one right here, days between hire date and entry date, that's those 2 weeks between your date of hire and your entry date. That's purchasable. If you ever go out on unpaid medical leave during your ASERA membership, when you return from that leave, you can buy that time up to 1 year per instance. And it's the same for state disability insurance leave, to 1 year per instance. Military leave, if you go out on military leave during your active membership, when you return from that leave, you can buy that time. This one right here, redeposit of prior memberships. If you used to be an ASERA member in the past, you quit your job, you took a refund of your employee contributions, and now you're working another job that is covered by ASERA, you can put that money back to get your service credit back. It's called a redeposit. This one is similar. This is a redeposit of community property. So if you get divorced or you dissolve your state registered domestic partnership and your ex-spouse or partner took part of your service credit and contributions as their part of the division of community property, if they take a refund of that money, they basically cash out their account, you can put that amount of money back into your account, and that is called a redeposit of community property, and that would give you your service credit back. And finally, this category down here, if you used to work for another public agency in California, examples would be other counties, other cities covered by CalPERS, which is the state's pension system, or the state, any state jobs that work under the pension system itself, East Bay Mud, Port of Oakland, etc. And you're not eligible to collect a pension under whatever pension they have, either because you took a refund of your contributions from their pension or because you didn't work there for long enough. If you go ahead and take that refund from their pension, you can buy that time as a SARA service. So let's say that you worked for the Port of Oakland for a year. You can buy that year as 1 year of a SARA service credit. But that's only for California agencies. So there are a list of times that are not eligible for purchase that we always get asked about. You cannot purchase the vacation purchase time. I told you that you don't earn service credit when you're out on that purchase vacation. You can't buy it back either. If you're on leave without pay that's not medical related, that's not purchasable. Contract or temporary agency time is not purchasable. And if you're trying to purchase that other prior public service and you still have contributions on deposit with that other agency, You can't purchase that time until you take a refund of your contributions from that other agency. So how much is purchasing service credit going to cost you? What it's going to cost you is whatever your employee contributions would have been had you worked that time. So if you were out on 6 months of unpaid medical leave, had you been working in your job, you would have been contributing to the retirement system at a rate of contribution specific to you. And so whatever that contribution would have been, that's what you pay. That's your cost to purchase it. Plus, you're going to have to pay any interest that money would have earned between then and now. So if you had paid that money into the system at that time, we would have invested it and it would have earned interest. And so any of the interest it would have earned between that time that you're trying to buy and now, you have to pay that. So if that was 5 years ago, the time was 5 years ago that you're trying to buy, that's 5 years worth of interest that you're going to have to pay. So the longer you wait to purchase service credit, the more expensive it gets, which is why it is really advantageous for you to have to be watching the seminar so that you know that, and that you can think back, oh, do I have any time that's purchasable? Maybe I should go ahead and purchase that now so it doesn't get more expensive. Or if in the future you incur one of these types of time, you know to purchase it immediately when you can purchase it, and that way you won't have to pay any interest on it. It'll be a lot cheaper. And the way that you actually make a service credit purchase and figure out what the exact cost is going to be is by submitting a purchase request to us. You can do that in your account. WMS's Web Member Services, that's our member portal. That's how you log into your Acera account. And so you can submit a request in there. And what we'll do is we'll do the calculations and we'll send you a letter with the costs. And at that point, when you get the letter, you can decide if you want to make the service credit purchase and how much of that purchase you want to make. Redeposits are all or nothing, but all the other ones, you can purchase a portion of the service credit purchase. You can purchase a portion of the time if you so choose. And then you have these payment options: lump sum check, rollovers from other type of retirement accounts, payroll deductions if you want us to split up the cost of it over time through and deduct it from your paycheck, we can do that, or we can do any combination. And I always get this question: is purchasing the service credit worth it, or how do I figure that out? Because you sent me a letter, you're telling me it's going to cost $1,000 or whatever it is. Like how much does this really help me? Well, you can figure this out for yourself. And the way you do it is by logging into your account on our website. You can go to acera.org/WMS, or you can just go to acera.org, click on the account login button. And once you get in there, there's a benefit estimator in there. And you're going to run 2 benefit estimates. And the benefit estimator, what it does is it estimates what your retirement allowance, also known as your pension allowance or your Acera pension, that's that monthly payment you're going to get every month for the rest of your life. It estimates what that dollar amount is going to be based on your specific situation, based on the pension data that we have in our database. And so you run 2 estimates. In both estimates, you are doing the same scenario. So you're doing the same retirement date. So you're thinking, okay, I'm going to retire 10 years in the future or 5 years in the future, whatever it is, and you pick a date that kind of meets that scenario. And in the estimator, there's this override where you can override the amount of service credit it's already projecting for you. In the first estimate, you do not do that. You leave that blank. You just let it do its thing. You click OK. It gives you a pension estimate. In the second estimate, again, you're using the same retirement date, but in that override field, you're going to add the amount of the service purchase to the amount of service credit that's already in there. So for example, if in this scenario, the amount of service credit that it's telling you will have at retirement is 10 years, and you're trying to purchase 3 months worth of time, that's a quarter year, so it's 0.25. So instead of leaving the 10 in there, like in this scenario, you would put in 10.25 in the override blank, and then you run that estimate. It will give you a higher retirement allowance estimate because it's calculating more service credit in there. It's assuming it's calculating that you earn more retirement because you have more service credit. Then you take those two numbers and you subtract to figure out the difference between them. And then you simply take the amount of the purchase cost that we're telling you that in that letter that we sent you. In the example I gave, we told you it was going to cost $1,000, and you simply divide that total by the difference that making the purchase gives you, and that tells you how many months it's going to take to get that cost back. Because at some point in the future, you're buying more service credit to get a higher retirement allowance. So because you're getting a higher retirement allowance, you're going to get that money back that you paid. It's just, how long will it take you to get the money back? If it's going to take 12 months, it's going to take a year, then maybe it's worth it to you. Or maybe 2-3 years to get the money back because of the increased retirement allowance. If it's going to take 10-20 years to get all that money back, maybe it's not worth it to you. So that's how you figure that out. Okay. Still on pension math. So we talked about the age factor percentage. We talked about earning service credit and buying service credit. Let's talk about the salary component of the formula. Your highest average monthly salary, also known as your final average salary. When you go to retire, we need to come up with a figure for this based on your payroll records. We have all those in our database. And so what we're going to do to figure your highest average monthly salary, the way the law tells us to calculate this is we determine this period of time in your payroll records called your final compensation period. It's your period of highest pay during your career. For tiers 1 and 3, it's your highest consecutive 26 biweekly pay periods or 12 monthly pay periods. For tiers 2 and 4, it's your highest 78 biweekly or 36 monthly pay periods, depending on how you're paid, biweekly or monthly. So for tiers 1 and 3, it's essentially your highest year of pay. For tiers 2 and 4, it's your highest 3 years of pay. And all we do to get the average is we divide that total pay that you made over the highest year or highest 3 years by the number of months in a year or 3 years, 12 months or 36 months. That tells us your highest average monthly salary over that period. So it's pretty simple. So what types of pay are going to be included in that salary? Your base pay is going to be included, of course. There are some other types of pay. You may have some other pay codes on your paycheck. Sometimes these are called footnotes. There are other types of pay based on skills and education for different situations. And I can't tell you whether those other types of pay are going to be in or out of this salary calculation. But the way you can figure it out is go to the pay codes page on our website, pull up the list of pay codes for your employer, find your pay code on the list, and it will tell you yes or no whether it's in or out of this calculation. I can't tell you that overtime never counts. And then for tiers 1 and 2, I don't think tier 3 can currently do it because you're not allowed to sell vacation. If you sell vacation or you have vacation left over on the books at the time of retirement, which is when they'll pay you for it at that time, is known as vacation cash out or payoff. If that happens during that final compensation period, if you're paid for your earned vacation that you didn't take during that final compensation period, some of that can be included up to a limit. And so there's a lot of details about that on our website if you want to know more about that. For tier 4 members specifically, there is a limit that I need to tell you about on the amount of annual salary that we're allowed to include in the salary calculation. So for general members, currently, if you earn more than $126,291 per year, we can't include more salary than that as pensionable salary for the calculation. What that means is that if you earn more than that, we stop taking out employee contributions on anything that you earn over that each year. And for the safety members, it's $151,549. Those numbers go up every year, and since this is a new employee slash mid-career seminar, those numbers are going to be a lot higher by the time you go to retire. So you can, when it comes, when it gets more toward your retirement, you can see what those limits are out on our website. Okay, and then finally, here is the whole equation put together. When you go to retire, we're going to take your age factor percentage based on your age of retirement, multiply it by your years of service credit, multiply it by your highest average monthly salary, and that tells us what your monthly retirement allowance is going to be. This is the retirement allowance that you've earned. You've earned it by earning money, by working and earning years of service credit, and by getting older and earning a higher age factor percentage. And in this scenario, just to touch on that idea of income replacement, that 70 to 80% income replacement that you are aiming toward. In this scenario, this person is achieving 57.5% income replacement. And I got that number simply by multiplying the age factor percentage by the years of service credit. Because they're going to get this percentage of their salary for each one of these years of service. So we just multiply them together, and that tells us what percent income replacement they're achieving just through their pension alone. Since we're talking about that, in general, that idea of how much retirement allowance you're going to earn. So I showed you kind of like the pension math in general. Let's talk about you specifically. Let's talk about you getting a specific pension estimate. I'll show you a couple of ways to do this. One way is, actually, this link I don't think is correct anymore. Let me go out to the website and show you where to get these pension estimate charts. This gives you a really quick kind of ballpark estimate of how much salary you will be replacing in retirement in different scenarios. So let me just do a new share here. Okay, here's our website. Click on this button, Get Started. This goes to our kind of intro to a new to Acera page. There's a few different ways to get to this. When you scroll down here to this section right here, how much will your pension be in retirement? And each one of these buttons will take you to one of these income replacement charts. So I'm going to click on Tier 4 for general members, because that will probably apply to a lot of people. And this table is going to pop up. It's a PDF. All you do is you think of a retirement scenario. So you kind of think about where you're at now, like what your age is now, how many more working years that you have ahead of you, how much service credit you're going to earn, and you just think into the future. Okay, if I retire, in 10 years, or if I retire at age, 60, how many years will I have worked in that scenario? And then you just figure out where they intersect. So let's say that you are going to, you're 40 now, you're going to work another 20 years, you're going to retire at age 60. That means that you will achieve 36% income replacement in that scenario, just from your pension alone. Okay, now that doesn't get you to the 70 or 80%, but don't panic, because I'm going to show you how to get to that 70 or 80% later on in the presentation. But you can see that if you follow that diagonal down, so in that same scenario, if you worked another 5 years, so 25 years at age 65, that would get you, sorry, a couple of windows in the way, 57.5% income replacement just by working another 5 years. It almost doubles, not quite almost doubles, but it really gets you up close to that 70 or 80% income replacement just from your pension alone. Okay, so that's kind of the quick way to do it, the way to get a ballpark estimate. So let me go back. Let me do the. Let me go back to the presentation here. The second way, and the more precise way to do it, is to use the benefit estimator in your account on our website. So you go to our website, you click the login button up here. If you've never done this before, you will have to create an account. And you do that by clicking the create an account button, or I think it says need an account. You answer some security questions to prove who you are. You make a username and password. Your username is your email address. And then you have an account and you can access the data that's already in there for you. So once you get in there, you'll see all the data in there for you. Otherwise, you just log in. Once you get in here, the first thing you're going to see is this account summary screen. It has a lot of the data, pension data that we have for you, like your tier, your employer, whether you have reciprocity or not, if you're currently actively working, date of birth, employment date, entry date. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. How much service credit you've earned so far, how much you've contributed to the system. What you're going to do is click on estimate a benefit. And then it's going to take you to this benefit estimator. And here is where you put in your retirement scenario. Your separation date, and let me just zoom in here for a second so you can see it a little bit more closely. Your separation date is the last day of work. Your projected retirement date is your first day of retirement. Now, if in your scenario you're going straight from work into retirement, then you just kind of pick a retirement date, and the separation date is the day before that. It has to be at least the day before that. If that's not what you're going to do, if you're going to stop working and not retire yet, maybe retire a few years later, then you just kind of fill in the dates based on that scenario. Then you click calculate. And then what it gives you is a projection of how much service credit you will have earned in this scenario if you continue to work up to the separation date and retire on this date. And then it's also going to give you a projection of your salary. And it's based on your current salary. And it has different ways of doing that projection, but it's not projecting any cost of living increases or raises into the future. Okay, so it's based on your current salary. So if you want to override both of these numbers, you can. And here's the service credit override. This is what I was referring to earlier when we were talking about purchasing service credit, where you can add additional service credit that you're going to purchase to this number and put the new total in here. So you can override that number. You can override your salary. If you're thinking you're going to retire, 10, 20 years from now, and you want to add in like inflation into there, you can do that and override the salary and see how that changes your estimate. And then you can put beneficiary information here if you want, and then you click get estimate, and you end up with this retirement estimate PDF. The number that you're going to look at is this. Let me zoom in here. Is this number right here? Because you're either new employees, you're in the middle of your career, you don't really need to think about the different retirement options yet. You can explore those out on our website for a description of that. But the unmodified option pays the most of any of the different options, and you can just kind of use this number as your retirement estimate. So that is how that works. Okay, let me just say one more thing about that. So this is like your precision estimate. And if you wanted to know what income replacement you're achieving from that, you can take this salary and you take this retirement allowance, divide by the salary, and then multiply by 100, and that will tell you the percent income replacement you're achieving in this scenario. Okay. So let's talk about understanding your retirement eligibility, and then we'll take a break. So on the pension milestone chart, we're talking about this date right here. This is the day that you actually become eligible to retire based on based on a few different scenarios. So let me show you the scenarios. For tiers 1, 2, and 3, there are these three different scenarios, kind of these three options for achieving retirement eligibility. Option number 1, you become eligible to retire if you are age 50 and you have at least 5 years of service credit. So you've earned at least 5 years of service credit and you have at least 10 total years of membership. Now, the difference here is that if you are going to work straight into retirement, you just kind of want to think about this as having worked for 10 years and being over age 50, and then you're eligible to retire. But if you're not going to work straight into retirement, if you're going to stop working before you've worked here for 10 years, you really just need to work from 5 or more years, stop working, and then you just have to wait um, until 10 years passed from your date of membership into Acera. And then as long as you're over age 50, then you can retire. And doing that is becoming what we call a deferred member. You're deferring your retirement to a later date. So you're saying, I'm done working now. I'm going to retire later. I'm going to stop working. I'm going to defer my retirement to a later date, not retire immediately. And one reason that you might do that is because you're in this scenario where you've already worked for over 5 years, but you're kind of done working. You stop working, and then you need to defer your membership until you've achieved 10 years of membership, and then you can retire, as long as you're over age 50. That's option number 1. Option number 2 is you have 30 years of service credit as a general member, or you have 20 years of service credit as a safety member, and you can retire at any age, even if it's younger than age 50. Option number 3 is that you are age 70 or older, and you can retire with any amount of service credit, even if it's less than the 5 years that it takes to get you eligible for option 1. So if you had 4 years of service credit, you could retire at age 70 and draw a small pension based on that 4 years of service credit that you earned. So that's tiers 1, 2, and 3. Now for tier 4, option number 1 for you is, for general members, you have to have at least 52 years of age. You have to have achieved at least 52 years on this earth. And that makes you eligible under option 1. Or for safety members, age 50 or older. And then you have to have at least 5 years of service credit. So you don't have to do that 10 years of membership thing. Option number 2 is, again, you can have any amount of service credit and be age 70 or older and start drawing a retirement allowance. So that's how that works. That's what makes you eligible to retire. Okay, let's talk about some additional benefits that Acera offers. These include medical, dental, vision, and a few other non-guaranteed benefits. There's disability retirement, and there is death benefits. Okay. Now, regarding the medical, dental, vision benefits and non-guaranteed benefits, these are an extra set of benefits that Acera offers to retirees in retirement to help them pay for like medical, dental, vision care. Now, this is based on funds in a reserve fund. And so our Board of Retirement makes sure that that fund stays sustainable. So they set up these rules to make sure that the fund stays sustainable. And the rules have to do with who qualifies to get these benefits, these subsidies to help pay for the cost of healthcare. We don't really need to go into like any of the details right now because your retirement is quite a ways away. If you want to delve into the details of this, go ahead and check out our pre-retirement seminar videos, and where we take a deep dive into this. But the one thing that I want to tell you right now about this is this chart right here. This shows you the years of service credit you need to qualify to start having access to these non-guaranteed benefits. So this is kind of in the context of retirement planning, planning for the future. So you can see that with 10 years of a Sarah service credit, and this doesn't, reciprocal service credit doesn't count here if you have reciprocity with another retirement system. This is only a Sarah service credit. If you have 10 years of a Sarah service credit, that's how you start qualifying for almost all of these benefits. Supplemental cost of living adjustment, which is an additional cost of living adjustment on top of the vested cost of living adjustment, doesn't require any years of a Sarah service credit, but the rest of them start at 10 years. And you get a subsidy for help you pay for the cost of Medicare, vision care, dental care, and then the first level of the medical subsidy, which is known as the monthly medical allowance, um, starts at 10 years. So the reason I'm telling you this during this seminar to help you plan for retirement is that if you're going to leave employment right before one of these milestones, 10, 15, or 20 years, maybe you want to think twice about that. Maybe you want to stick it out and get over that milestone, 10, 15, or 20 years. Like if you have 9.5 years and you're about to quit, if you get over that 10-year mark, this medical subsidy and dental and vision and Medicare subsidy in the future, that represents a lot of money in retirement, um, that you would achieve just by like working another 6 months and getting over that 10-year mark. So the same thing for the 15 and 20-year marks for the medical subsidy. So that's just something that I want to let you know right now regarding retirement planning. But you can, if you do achieve these milestones, you can expect, as long as the fund stays sustainable enough to continue offering them at the levels that they're currently being offered, um, like you can expect that you can access those benefits. The Board of Retirement does make some changes to these rules and what the benefits are and the levels of benefits periodically to ensure the fund sustainability. So it's good to kind of keep tabs on what's happening at Acera, just to kind of keep track of this stuff. So regarding pension milestones, I'm going to go ahead and put another milestone on the chart, which is the 10-year mark to start being able to access those healthcare subsidies. And it may happen at the same time as this retirement eligibility milestone. It may happen before this retirement eligibility milestone for you, but I just wanted to get it on there to kind of illustrate that this is something to kind of be cognizant of. Okay, so we got that checked off the list. Now let's talk about designating your beneficiary or beneficiaries and keeping them current. Who is a beneficiary? A beneficiary is just somebody who gets benefits. That's all that word means. Now, your Acera beneficiary, in the context of Acera, is the person who you designate to get your Acera death benefits after you die. Okay. This is not something that you only want to think about regarding designating a beneficiary for your retirement pension benefits after you're retired. On the contrary, you want to always have a designated beneficiary at all times, even before retirement, because there are death benefits available to your beneficiaries should you die before you retire. And so let me just kind of summarize what those death benefits are for you. The death benefits should you die before retirement. So if you are not vested, which means you have not yet achieved 5 years of service credit, the death benefits are going to be, your beneficiaries are going to get a return of all of your employee contributions and interest that we've paid in your contribution account. So we're keeping this contribution account for you where we're putting in all of your contributions and interest. And so we're going to give that back to your beneficiary. Plus, your beneficiary will get 1 month of your salary for each year of service that you've already earned. And that's up to 6 months worth of salary. Um, so if you died after working for 2 years, they would get 2 months of your salary in addition to this return of contributions and interest. And this is if you die as an active member, actively employed. If you die as an active member and you have achieved vesting, you have achieved that 5 years of service credit, your beneficiary's choice will be expanded. They still have the choice of the one I just showed you, which is option 1. They could also get a monthly survivor's allowance. And excuse me, and it says to qualified beneficiary only. It is qualified beneficiary is spouse, state registered domestic partner, or minor children. And they could get a monthly survivor's allowance. I think minor children. You'll have to verify that on our website. And then option 3 is kind of a combination of options 1 and 2. They would get a lump sum of your 1 month of salary for each year of service up to 6 months, and then a smaller survivor's allowance. If you are not an active member when you die, rather you're a deferred member, which means you're no longer working here, but you haven't retired yet. It would just be a return of the contributions and interest, and not any of your salary, because you're not currently earning a salary. There's more information on that. If you go to our page on death benefits on our website at sra.org/death, it will tell you more about that qualified beneficiary thing, and there's tables that show you more about these death benefits. So regarding designating your beneficiaries and keeping them current, you as active members, assuming that you're active members, or even if you're a deferred member, you can change your beneficiaries at any time. If you have not yet designated a beneficiary, most of you probably have. You did that on your member enrollment questionnaire that you filled out during your orientation into your job. But if you left it blank, you don't currently have a beneficiary designation. So you should redesignate your beneficiary. Or if your beneficiary is incorrect, you can check your beneficiaries. Again, if you log into your account on our website and you click on the nominated beneficiary page, you'll see who your current beneficiaries are. If these people are wrong, if this is your spouse from 3 spouses ago, you're going to need to redesignate your beneficiary, okay? And you do that on our beneficiary designation form. So it's on our forms page. You just download the beneficiary designation form. You sign that. I think we're currently accepting those via email, but a really good way to do it, the best way to do it here, forget about the email. The best way to do it is in Web Member Services, there's a new link here. It's not in the screenshot, but it says something, it's a file uploader, and you can securely upload files to your Acera account, and we will receive them. So you download that beneficiary designation form. There's actually links to the form if on the nominated beneficiary page in your account. You download the form, you sign it, you scan it in. I recommend you use the Adobe Scan app. It makes it super easy. And then you just log in to your account and you can upload it using that link. So that's the best way to do that. Okay. So we've talked about designating your beneficiaries and keeping your beneficiary designations current. You do not want us to pay the wrong person, and we have to pay out whoever you've designated as your beneficiary. Doesn't matter what's in your will. Your beneficiary designation is going to supersede that. Okay. So let's talk about your career planning options. And when I say career planning options, what I mean is kind of your employment planning options. So you're not gonna work here forever, because that's impossible. You can't do anything forever. So at some point in the future, you're going to quit your job and go work somewhere else, or you're going to go straight into retirement. Um, so what I'm showing you are your options regarding your Sarah membership and your Sarah retirement for when you stop working here. So option number one is work straight into retirement, which that just means you go through your whole career, you're earning your retirement, then you decide after you're eligible, okay, I'm ready to retire. And you plan that out a little bit, you go ahead and retire, and then we start paying you every month for the rest of your life. So that's option number one. Oh yeah, I have a bunch of bullet points about that. So you earn service credit right up to your retirement. We're going to convert half of your sick leave to service credit. So any sick leave that you have not used, we will convert that to service credit up to a limit. You can go work somewhere else if you want. So you can go ahead and retire here. You can go work anywhere else, and we're going to consider you a Sarah retiree and pay you every month for the rest of your life. So you continue to get your Sarah service credit at the same time. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead here. And so that's working straight into retirement. Or you don't have to go work anywhere else if you've achieved your income replacement that you need. And you just relax, sit on the beach, have a cocktail, go snorkeling. Maybe you should go snorkeling first before you start in on the cocktails. And then you're retired, and you're just going to keep getting that retirement every month for the rest of your life. Okay. Option number two is if you terminate before your retirement, and this is becoming what we call a deferred member. So regarding the pension milestone chart, this is like you're not going straight from here all the way through these milestones to retirement. There's going to be a gap here where you're not earning any more retirement, but you haven't retired yet, so you're done working. Okay, so you have three options if you do that. We're going to call them options A through C. Okay. Option A is you defer your retirement. That means you leave your contributions on deposit with the Sarah. You don't take a refund of your contributions. That means that you're still an Sarah member because we call you a deferred member. The word member is in there. You're still a member. You can retire later if you want out of deferred membership. Interest continues to accumulate, and we don't pay negative interest. And people ask me what I mean about that is you can't lose money. Like if there's a year where the stock market tanks and our investments don't do well, we don't take money out of your contribution account. Your contribution account just stays where it is. Okay. So interest, your contribution account only increases. You can retire later out of deferred status. Or if you've deferred and gone and done something else and you decide that that's not for you and you want to come back to work at your old job or for a new job for any of the 6 public agencies that participate in this era, you can come back to work and earn more retirement. You can also, if you decide later, if you didn't want to take a refund now, but you decide later that you want to cancel your membership and take a refund, you could be refunded at any time. So that's option A. Okay. Option B is to establish reciprocity with a different retirement system. That means you're linking another public retirement system together with a SARA. So you stop work here, for example, and let's say you get a job working for the state, or you get a job working for another county, like Contra Costa County, for example. You stop working here, you get a job over there, and then you link the systems together, and it prevents you from having to start earning your retirement over from scratch. And there's a full list of agencies that you can do that with out on our website. The benefits I'm gonna, if you're looking at this presentation, what's today, October 1st, we actually just updated our website, and I'll go in after the presentation and make sure all links still work, that they still all go to the right places. Okay, so the benefits of establishing reciprocity are: one, that the service credit you earn in all the systems combined gets you the vesting requirement and the retirement eligibility requirement. Um, it all of the service credit and all the systems combined, we look at that when we're looking at vesting and retirement eligibility. For example, if you work for 3 years for Alameda County and you go over and work for 2 years at Contra Costa County and you've established reciprocity and linked them together, that's 5 years combined, and that means you're vested in both systems. Okay. Same thing for retirement eligibility. If you need the 10 years of membership and you have 5 years in one and 5 years in the other, we're looking at both to get you over that retirement eligibility mark. So that would be the 10 years combined. Second benefit is that when you establish reciprocity, um, what that means is you're earning some retirement in one system, you're earning some retirement in another system. And then when you go to retire, we're both going to do a retirement calculation based on what you earned in each system. Okay. And when we do that, we're all going to use the highest salary that you earned under any of those systems. So let's say that you're making $20 an hour here and you go get a job working at a different county and you're making $30 an hour. And then your salary goes up from there. When you go to retire, we're not going to use that lower salary that you were earning here. We're going to call that other system, get your higher salary, and plug that into our formula. So that's what I mean when I say it prevents you from having to earn your retirement from scratch. It's kind of like these two things. You don't have to start earning service credit over from scratch, and you don't have to your lower salary that you were earning earlier isn't going to be considered in any of the calculations. Okay, and then finally, the third benefit is if you're in tiers 1, 2, and 3, and you go into an earlier tier, that puts you in an earlier tier in the next system, that keeps your contribution rate lower than it would be if you were starting over. Okay. In order to qualify for reciprocity, you got to do 4 things. 1, you leave your contributions on deposit with every system that you're linking together. 2, no more than a 180-day gap can exist between when you stop working the first job and you enter the next retirement system. It's basically 6 months. Number 3, you can't have overlapping service. So you don't want to go on a 4-week vacation here to use up your vacation and then immediately start working another job that you're trying to establish reciprocity with, because then you have 4 weeks of overlapping service, and that disqualifies you from being able to do this. Don't do that. You just stop working here, and they'll cash you out for your vacation anyway. You'll get a check for that anyway. You stop working here, you start working the new job. Don't have overlapping service. And then finally, number 4, you must retire from all of the systems on the same day to keep reciprocity whole. Okay, that's options A and B. For option B, you're kind of taking option A and also doing option B, because option A was just to simply become a deferred member, leave your contributions on deposit. Okay, option C, so remember we had A, B, and C if you're not going to go straight into retirement. Option C is you take a refund of your employee contributions and interest. Okay. If you don't want to be a deferred member, you don't want to be an SRM member anymore at all, you can take a refund of everything that you paid into the system throughout your entire career, plus all the interest that we've posted to it every 6 months. If you take a lump sum payment of that, you're probably going to lose 1/3 of your money to taxes and penalties, depending on your age when you're taking the lump sum payment. So that's not fun. You can roll over that money into another pre-tax retirement account, and then you would not incur those taxes and penalties. Refunds take 45 or 60 or more days to process, so it's not an instantaneous thing. And basically what you're doing is you are canceling your SARA membership. You're waiving all your rights to a SARA benefits in the future. And if you recall, earlier in the presentation, I told you that if you retire from a SARA, we're going to give you back all your contributions and interest anyway within the first 3 to 5 years of retirement. So taking a refund is not really a good deal. There's not a lot of scenarios where it's a really good deal, because if you retire from a SERA, if instead you take option A and you become a deferred member, um, your money is just going to sit here. It's going to accumulate interest, um, and then you can retire later, and you can start drawing a lifetime monthly retirement allowance. And we're going to give you all your contributions and interest back within the first 3 to 5 years anyway. Okay, um, and then you can do whatever you want with that money. Now, if you take option C, this is just a one-time lump sum payment. This is not for the rest of your life. This money is going to run out, and you're basically not taking advantage of the power of pensions, and you're not taking advantage of the power of the employer contributions, and the longer term interest that is paying your lifetime retirement allowance. So I don't recommend it, but it is an option for you. Option C. Okay. So this is the kind of final big segment that we'll talk about: making a retirement planning picture. So we're going to come back to this slide. I showed you this at the beginning of the presentation. We're going to kind of look and peer into the future here. And in the future, you are going to have to stop working, and you're going to be retired, and you're going to need an income in retirement. And it's going to be based on what you earned while you were working throughout your career. And it kind of falls into these categories. One of the ways that you've earned retirement, and the reason that you're participating in this seminar, is because you're an SERA member and you're earning an SERA monthly pension allowance. If you're not a safety member, you're also paying into the Social Security system, and you will be able to collect Social Security in the future once you become eligible for that. Now, anything beyond your pension and Social Security is going to be your personal savings and investments. And like I said earlier, financial planners say that through the combination of all of your income that you're getting in retirement, that needs to be about 70 to 80% of what you were making before retirement in order to maintain your standard of living. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the pension. So let's kind of talk about this equation. Let's delve into Social Security a little bit. Let's talk about this savings and investments line, and what you can do to figure out whether you're on the trajectory for 70 to 80% income replacement or not, and what to do about it if you're not. Let's talk about all that. So I'm going to give you some steps here. Okay. The first step is get some estimates. To just understand what we're working with, what we need to do is do some estimates. So this slide, I'm just kind of giving you basically you get out a pencil and paper, and you kind of record these numbers as you get the estimates as you go along, because we're going to plug this into a calculator in a little bit. That's gonna do a lot of the work for us. So you go ahead and get your SERA estimate, and you get a Social Security estimate. Okay, so if you remember, to get your SERA estimate, you log into your account, you go to the benefit estimator, you end up with an SERA benefit estimate. Okay, so you're doing a scenario for your future retirement allowance, and you end up with this SERA benefit estimate PDF. Now you're going to look at some numbers on here. I showed you this number, your retirement allowance estimate. There's also some other useful numbers here. Your SERA, your average monthly salary, and your age at retirement. Okay. So we're going to take those numbers, and we're just going to come back here, and we're just going to write them down on a piece of paper. Okay. In this estimate, in this scenario, retiring on this date, this is going to be my SERA monthly allowance for the rest of my life. This is going to be my age at retirement. And what I did to get that percentage is I just take this small number and divide it by the big number, then multiply by 100, and that gives me the percentage. Okay. And this is my percentage income replacement that the Sarah pension alone is giving me. Okay. Then I'm going to go get a Social Security estimate. Okay. And what that's going to look like, you go out to this link on Social Security's webpage, and they ask you a bunch of questions about different retirement scenarios. They also already have a bunch of data on file for you. Okay. So I think you're putting in your Social Security number. So they're like identifying you specifically. And then they give you this. They give you this estimate. And it's going to have 3 different ages for 3 different scenarios. You can start collecting Social Security benefits. There's an age where you get your full Social Security retirement. There's even a later age where you can get more. And then there's the early Social Security retirement at age 62. And they give you numbers for each one of those. So you just write those down on a piece of paper. So on this piece of paper, we're just writing on 3 different ages, 3 different amounts. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a calculator, and we're going to take some of these numbers, plug it in the calculator, and that's going to show you how to get pointed at that 70 to 80% income replacement trajectory. Okay, so let me just kind of memorize this here. We're talking about 26, 27% Sarah income replacement, and at age 62 is about $1,700. Okay, so I'm going to show you the Vanguard calculator. This is a screenshot of the Vanguard calculator, but I'm actually going to go out to the calculator and do it. Let me do a new screen share here. Okay, let me just refresh this here. Okay, so this is what it looks like. When it's refreshed. And if you recall, there was a number of different links on there to a number of different calculators. I recommend doing a few of them, and this is just one of them. I'm just going to show you how this one works. They all kind of work similarly. I think this one, works pretty well for our purposes here. So this and I'll say more about that in a minute. Okay, so for this particular calculator, you have sliders, and the sliders are for your scenario. So in this scenario, you are 30 years old and you're retiring at age 65. So this is basically like your working career. And so you just slide the sliders till it meets your criteria. I'll just leave it here, 30 to, let's say 62. 30 years old to 62. And let's say that you make $80,000 a year. Okay. I'm going to leave this one alone for right now. How much you save annually for retirement. But if you want to, you can, if you already know how much you already save annually for retirement, you can go ahead and put that in the slider here. For this one, I've already saved a certain amount in retirement. So if you already have retirement savings, great. You can go ahead and put that in here. If you have zero, you have zero. No worries. So you don't worry about that. We're gonna get you fixed up here on this right away. So we'll just leave it at 0. I'm going to slide this down to 80%. Actually, no, let's do it like right in the middle of the 70 and 80. So let's say 75% income replacement. Because the financial planners were saying you need between 70 and 80% income replacement. Let's just leave it at 75. Okay. Now for this number here, this is the expected annual return you can expect to receive from your investments. Okay. So the idea here is that you're going to take some of your earnings and you are going to put them into various diversified investments that aren't too risky, where over the long term, based on the history of the stock market and the fact that it just tends to go up over long periods of time, that you will earn a certain percentage per year over a long period of time. This isn't saying that you're going to definitely earn 8% this year, or you're definitely going to earn a certain percent, in the next few months. This is saying, based on kind of the history and the standards of the stock market and the history of the history of investing in financial markets in general, you tend to earn money over long periods of time. Okay. And so this number should be, I think, between 2 and 7%. And it depends on how much risk you personally can stand in the stock market. Um, 7% is still, on the conservative side. Some people think that they can earn more than that, but this at Acera, what we expect to return, what we expect to earn every year based on our professional investing is 7.25%, and we invest fairly conservatively. We don't take a lot of risks, so that's why I say it should be between 2 and 7%. 2% you can get, depending on when it is. You can get 2% by investing in bonds or investing, or even putting your money sometimes in like high yield savings accounts sometimes. So that's like very on the very safe side, all the way up to 7%, which is like, you have a good percentage of your portfolio in stocks. So it's up to you. I'm gonna put this on 6%. We'll see what happens. Okay. So here's the point where you put in some of those numbers that we gathered. So I'm going to click on this checkbox here. I'm going to include my estimated Social Security benefit, and I'm going to tell them about it. So this pop-up is going to be here. And if I recall correctly, at age 62, it was going to be I think it was 1723. We'll go ahead and put it in there exactly. You just put that in there. Now you can see that this orange box popped up here. So this bar right here represents how much you're going to need in retirement. And this represents how much you're going to achieve to meet what you need. So based on Social Security income alone, we've already achieved this much. Okay, now I'm going to put in the pension benefit. I'm going to check the box and I'm going to tell them about it. And it was 26.7%. I'm going to put in 28%. And you can see the higher the percentage, the higher the yellow box gets over here. So we'll put in 28%. Okay, so there's a gap here, and I haven't quite achieved what I'm going to need, and I'm going to fill in that gap with additional savings toward retirement. And that's what this slider is. That's why I left this one alone. So by sliding the slider, I'm just going to slide it up until these are kind of even. Okay, it's about even. And it's saying that what this calculator is telling me is that over this period of time when I'm earning an income, over this period of time where I'm earning this income, I'm going to need to save this amount annually in order to achieve 75% income replacement. As long as in this scenario, I am investing this money that I'm saving and earning 6% on it annually. Okay. Now, $8,000 kind of sounds like a lot to save annually, but let's see how much that is per pay period. So divided by 26 pay periods is about $300 per pay period. Okay. So if you have an additional $300 that you could put away, you could start saving it now, and I'll talk a little bit about later where you might want to save your money. But we're just kind of like figuring out what that amount might be here. And if you can't do $300 now, maybe you could do $200, or you could do $100. Okay. So this is just kind of to get you started and to this is just to give you a number. Like, you want to know what this number is going to be in order for me to achieve the trajectory of getting the income replacement that I need. Now, if you don't want to do 75% income replacement, you go down to 70. If you think maybe I'm going to move somewhere less expensive in retirement, and then you don't have to save as much to be even. See how that works? Okay, so let me go back to the slide presentation. Okay, and like I said, this slider should be 2 to 7%. So the bottom line here with this number that I just showed you this amount that the calculator is telling you that you should save in addition, it's getting you pointed in a direction. That's all it's doing. Okay. Because the future where you're retired could be a ways away for you. Could be 5 years, could be 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Okay. Um, it's a ways away. You don't know what you're going to be earning right before retirement. So you don't even know what you need to get 70 to 80% of. Okay. What the calculator is doing is just getting you pointed in that direction. Okay. So if we just do the calculator for the first time, we get pointed in this direction. Now, maybe that doesn't quite get us pointed at 70 to 80%. So what I recommend is you come back 6 months later, a year later, and you just do the calculator again, or you try a bunch of the different calculators, and you kind of readjust, and it gets you pointed in a different direction. It gives you kind of a different number, says you need to save a little bit more. Okay, and then after a year later, you find, oh, well, I've been, I've kind of overshot. I'm saving a little much, and it's kind of, taxing on me. So maybe I'll reduce my savings for a little bit. And you'll find over time, over the years, if you just keep readjusting this and you keep putting that money into the savings, that by the time you go to retire, you will have achieved the 70 to 80% income replacement. As long as you get kind of pointed in that direction now. Even if whatever you're making now doesn't get you anywhere near pointed in the direction. Maybe you're pointed in the direction of 40% income replacement. It's just good to get in the habit of putting away a little now. And you'll see that even if you were able to put away like $20 per paycheck or $40 per paycheck, you'll find that whatever your new net is, whatever your new net amount is that you now have to work with, that'll become the new normal for you. And you'll just kind of readjust. Maybe you don't buy a new, TV every 5 years. Maybe you go, 6 or 7 years, or whatever it is to make your adjustments. You'll find that you won't really even miss it. And one of the things you will really enjoy is the new sense of like calm and peace that you will feel because you have gotten yourself at least pointed in a direction toward income replacement. Okay. So that's my spiel on that. So now that we kind of know how much money to save, and what we need to know is, where should you save your money? In that calculator, we were assuming that you were going to earn 6% a year. So it's kind of up to you to decide where to save that additional money to kind of like have the hope of achieving that annual return like over a long period of time. If you're trying to like really accelerate your savings, you're going to want to keep your money somewhere that earns interest. Okay. You just are going to want to do that. There are some places that you can have very little risk and you still earn some interest. Okay. What earning interest does, and earning interest is where you give your money to some entity, you're basically loaning them money, and they're paying you a fee for the loan of that money. And often the fee has to do with the success of whatever the endeavor was where you loaned your money to. So for example, if you're loaning your money to a company by buying stocks, if the company is successful, they pay out profits to you in the form of dividends, and you get that, and so that's known as interest. So you basically get money for loaning your money out to the company. Or if you put your money in a bank, in a high yield savings account, the bank is not just leaving your money there. They're going to go do something with your money to generate more capital. And so they are going to pay you for their ability to use your money to do that. So they're going to pay you some interest. If you are able to earn interest, it helps you do two things. It helps you beat inflation, because inflation in the US is on average about 3% per year. And if you're not beating inflation, you're losing money. And it also helps you earn more money through the power of compound interest. Here's a compound interest graph. Compound interest is where you invest your money, you earn a little bit of interest. Now you have more money. Okay, so you invest that larger amount, and now you're going to earn interest not only on the original amount of money that you invested in, but on the interest that you've earned. So you're earning interest on interest on interest on interest, which is why the compound interest graph accelerates, it curves upward as the more compound interest you're able to access by leaving your money in places that earn interest over long periods of time. This graph is showing a period of 20 years. If you don't earn any interest, you just don't earn any additional money. Your money just sits there. If you're not earning compound interest, it's not accelerating. Okay. So this is the power of compound interest, the acceleration of earnings over long periods of time. But so that, this is sort of like the general information about how this stuff works. For your own individual scenario, make sure that you are taking appropriate caution based on the amount of risk, financial risk that you can handle. Because typically, if you put your money somewhere that has the opportunity to earn interest, there is some risk. The more opportunity to earn, the higher the potential interest, the higher the financial risk in general. Okay, and so this is your risk you're taking with your money. I'm just giving you information about different options that you have, but ultimately the decision is your own. Let me show you some options where you can kind of choose how much risk you want to take. So these are options for where to put your additional money. There are these types of accounts called defined contribution accounts, and they have like these numbers and letters based on the code sections from the IRS code that establishes your ability to save in these type of accounts. The main one that I'm going to focus on is the 457B deferred compensation account. This is a type of account that you can access because you're a government employee. Okay, so this is a government employee type of deferred compensation account. It's called deferred compensation because you're deferring taxes on this compensation. So you're deferring your compensation to a later date. Okay, which means that the way it works is you have to set up a certain amount of money that comes out of your paycheck before taxes. Okay, and you are not getting to use that compensation right now for your life. You're deferring it to a later date by saving it. And one of the advantages that the government has set up is you don't have to pay taxes on that income if you save it in this type of account. So if let's say your salary is $50,000 a year, and you put $10,000 into your 457B account that year, you don't have to pay income taxes on $50,000 that year. You pay income taxes on $40,000 of income because $10,000 of that is going to be tax deferred. Okay, you don't have to pay taxes now, but you have to pay taxes later when you're retired. Whenever you start taking money out of that account, that's why it says the taxes are deferred. The advantage of that is that later on, when you're retired, you're probably going to have a lower income than before you were retired, and so you're actually going to pay less taxes on that money in retirement because your income is lower, and so you're going to pay less total taxes. You can make a maximum contribution to your 457B account for 2020. The maximum contribution is $19,500. So that's about $750 per pay period. So you can put quite a bit of money away per year. That example I gave you a minute ago, was showing you putting $8,000 away per year, and that was helping you. That was getting you to achieve 75% income replacement. So if you if you don't want to think, you don't want to think too hard about your investments, and you just want to use, you don't want to like go, pick out different investments and figure out where to put your money because it's complicated and you don't want to do a lot of research. This is a great way for you to save that additional money. It's a great place for you to save additional money because um, you're designating money out of your paycheck to put it in the 457B account, and then what you do is you go into your account online and you kind of like choose how much risk. There's like different ways they make it easy for you. You choose how much risk you want to take, and then it will invest it for you professionally. It's like a whole system through Prudential, and it invests in for you professionally. And all you do to set up an account is you go to this website, uh, or you can also approach I think your payroll clerk, and they'll tell you where to go to set up that account. Um, and you can start saving money now. The minimum that you need to start taking out of each paycheck to set up an account is $20. So at the minimum, you just go ahead and do the $20. Get it out of the way, get the whole setup out of the way, and then you can increase it over time. Okay. So that is that's a really good place to save your money. Now, let's say that um, you are really good at saving and you max out your contribute. You can't contribute more than $19,500 per year. Let's say that you have additional money to put somewhere, and you're looking for other low risk options. Or let's say that the 457B account doesn't quite do it for you and you just want some other options, or you want to have like access to your money. You can like once you put your money away in the 457B account, you can take it out. Like you can take loans from it. And I'm not really an expert in this, so I don't want to like explain it wrong, but kind of your money is kind of in the 457B account. You can take withdrawals after you quit. But yeah, if you want to explore the rules of that, you should contact the county's deferred compensation program coordinator, because I'm not too clear on all the rules with that. But like, let's say that you want some of these other options. Okay, so I've listed out for you 7 low risk options of additional places where you could put your money. High yield checking accounts and high yield savings accounts are just basically bank accounts. They're FDIC insured. Checking accounts are, you know what a checking account is. You get a check card. You can get checks. You spend money out of there. You can get a direct deposit to put your salary in there, your paycheck in there. There's no difference between a checking account and a high yield checking account, or a savings account and a high yield savings account. Regarding what the rules are, it's just that some banking institutions, and some internet banks are trying to get your business. They want you to leave your bank that doesn't pay you any interest on your checking, or pays you very low interest on your savings. So they will offer checking accounts that pay interest, or they'll offer savings accounts that pay a much higher level of interest than you get at your current institution. Like, for example, if you open a savings account at Wells Fargo, they pay, the interest that they're going to pay on their savings account is like 0.01%, maybe. That's pennies a year. I mean, it's nothing. It's basically zero. Now, if you go to a different bank out there that is looking for your business, they might pay you 1.5%. Sometimes, depending on when you do it, they might even pay up to 2% per year, just for you keeping your savings there instead of the brick and mortar bank that you have been keeping your savings at. So you can explore those options. And there's even some banks that offer interest on checking accounts. Okay, so it's good to go explore. If you go to NerdWallet or other places like that, it's these websites that kind of do reviews on these banks, and they kind of are kind of a clearinghouse for what the current offers are from these different banks and financial institutions. They just kind of list out what all the current banks are uh, that are paying interest on checking and savings accounts, and what the levels of interest they're paying are, and then they kind of link you to that, and they kind of make money through referrals. So they are making money through referrals. And that's how they do it. Okay. Um, Money market deposit accounts are basically savings accounts, but they have slightly different rules. You're allowed to write, like, I think they come with checks. Savings accounts usually don't come with checks. You're allowed to write 6 checks out of there or something. I don't know. There's slightly different rules, but it's money market deposit account is basically like a savings account. The rules are slightly different, and that's just another one of those list of accounts that you can check out and um, online and research to see if you can get some interest there. Money market mutual funds are totally different than money market accounts. That is like a mutual fund that different companies offer. For example, Vanguard offers a money market mutual fund. And what they do is they basically invest in super low risk investments that on average kind of pay a percentage that's in the low, it's like 1% or 2%, depending on what's happening in the market. Um, so, and those are considered pretty low risk, but those are not FDIC insured. The FDIC insurance means that if your bank goes insolvent, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is a arm of the federal government, will give you all your money back up to a certain amount per account. I think it's $250,000. So that's what that is. It means your money has an extra level of safety. Certificates of deposit, also known as CDs, it's where you give your money to a bank in sort of like a savings account. They tell you up front how much interest they're going to pay, and they kind of lock your money away for a fixed period, like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Your money isn't really locked away. You can get it back pretty easily without paying too much of a penalty. So that's just another option. And then there's treasury bills and notes and bonds. These are considered lower risk options. I don't know a lot about these, and so you would want to do the research on your own for that. Okay. Last thing I'll say about this, for 2020, there's been some market instability. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Now's the time to be extra cautious, do extra research if you're considering investing money right now. When I say research, I mean just like ask questions, like Google different questions. You can ask financial advisors if you get more help. If you sign up for a deferred compensation plan, they offer free financial planners. You can talk to them as many times as you want if you open that 457B account. So that's a great way. You talk to them and they will help you like assess the level of risk in your 457B account, and they'll also answer other questions about the market. The First United Credit Union, if you open an account with them, they offer some kind of similar financial planning services and different investment accounts. And they offer free financial planners if you open an account with them. You can hire a financial planner. Look very closely at the fees that they're going to charge you. Often the way these are set up is they say, okay, we'll take your savings, we'll invest it for you professionally, and we'll only charge you 1% per year on your balance as our fee. 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but it's huge. That is a lot of money. That really cuts into your ability to achieve accelerated savings through compound interest. So some financial planners will charge you on an hourly basis for just advice, and so maybe you want to look at that instead rather than hiring a financial planner to like manage your assets. There's more on this. I know I just talked about that for 10-15 minutes. We have a lot more on that at estimator.org/planning. There's a whole article. Actually, let me just skip over to the screen share. I'll just show that to you briefly. If you go So here's our home page. If you go right here, planning your future retirement income, this page helps you do a lot of what I just talked you through. Um, and there's links to a bunch of different calculators here. Um, this talks more about where you might want to save your money. This helps you open a 457B account. This talks about setting it up through payroll deductions and readjusting your trajectory. There's also a bunch of bonus links down here. I put in some links here about more about retirement planning and massively cutting your expenses. So these first couple of links are really great. Mr. Money Mustache talks about like cutting your expenses, saving more, retiring early. This guy, and this isn't these aren't like schemes. He's talking about like just cutting your expenses and saving more in low risk investments over long periods of time, and that gives you the ability to retire early. And he really gives you a lot of information about how to cut your massively bloated expenses down pretty well. And again, and also the minimalists. This is a great article on kind of doing some of the same things. So I highly suggest taking some time and going through this, planning for your future retirement page. Okay. Starting a 457B account, the way to do that, go to that planning for your retirement page. There's some links in there that tell you who to talk to at your employer in order to get that account set up. And you can get that set up pretty quickly. There's usually a form that you have to fill out and sign, and then they'll just start taking that $20 a month out of your paycheck at a minimum, or you can make it higher. You can use the calculator and get yourself on that trajectory. Okay, this is the final item on the checklist. If you want to keep up to date with what's happening at Acera, sign up, subscribe to our email news. We hardly send out any news. It's like once in a blue moon is something important enough that we want to let you know about. So if you don't want to continually check our news page, just go ahead and go to acera.org/subscribe. It'll take you 2 seconds. You put in your email address. You tell us what kind of news you want. If it's for retirement planning, you click that. And we'll tell you if anything changes with Acera. If anything's important enough to let you know about, we'll send that to you. If you have questions, call us anytime. Check our website for our current hours that we're taking calls. It might be something like 9 to 3 or 9:30 to 3, something like that on business days. 510-628-3000 is the number. And we have experts there ready to help you one-on-one with any other retirement questions that you have. So with that, on behalf of Acera's Board of Retirement and Acera staff, I wish you a beautiful career, a beautiful retirement. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend this with me and learn about the powerful benefits that you're earning. And I wish you a beautiful career and a beautiful life. Thank you so much. And with that, that is the end of the presentation.